around and
Uh-huh.
being like, what? There's a paper?
You goofing around.
We're supposed to be doing something?
Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
No, there's no paper.
Okay.
Paper does not exist. It's a
The
figment
cake
of
is
your
a lie.
imagination. Cake
The
is,
cake.
Which cake?
The cake.
I don't know which cake that is.
It's a Portal 2 reference.
No idea what that is.
It's a video game?
Oh, I don't know. Don't know that one. Video game. Oh, wait. You mean like Pong or Pac-Man?
To be fair, both of those kind of had portals. I mean, that little
Pac-Man
dot
did.
goes off the screen and it just disappears. I mean,
Well,
where'd
that's
it go?
you have a point there, I guess.
Come on.
All right, so we are back and front and two sides and a top and a bottom and everything in between.
I have two sides. I think you have more over there.
Nope. Well, I mean, front and back are two. I mean, front, side, left, and right. So that's all there is.
Let's do the things.
Do the things.
So, we're looking at connections between prayer, study, and meditation.
Yeah, I think there are some connections there.
No, nothing is possibly ever connected.
No.
It's an anti-holistic philosophy for life.
Yeah, I think
There's got to be a better word for that.
I don't know. Separatist philosophy. I don't know.
Caleb will kill me. It's like, you've joined the separatists? No.
Oh well.
Okay. Genesis 24, verse 63.
And we actually, I think, mentioned this one when we were going through Genesis, at least.
One more verse and you could have had a full stack. Okay.
No idea. 65. Okay. Well,
Another video game reference.
Yes,
Yeah.
I get that one, actually.
And Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, there were camels coming. He was meditating in the evening and made camels appear out of nowhere.
not
It's
exactly.
magic.
So this is actually Rebecca, his soon-to-be wife, coming back.
His wife's a camel?
No, she's riding one of the camels.
Doesn't say anything about anybody on the camels.
Well,
It just says camels.
I think that's in the full stack verse.
Oh, okay.
I didn't write.
See? This is why it pays to have a full stack of things.
Yeah. Well, the reference here is to the first part of the verse where he is going out to meditate.
Okay.
Now, there are a lot of... when we say meditate and meditation, there are different images that come to people's minds of what that means.
Most of them involve Buddha.
Or the word Om.
Om.
It's an electric... They're really into electricity, so they mention ohms a lot. But there are two different styles, I guess you could say, of meditation in our world. One is to try to completely empty your mind. And this is generally more for a relaxation, and people talk about inner peace. But that's not, when the Bible talks about meditation, that's not what it's talking about. It's not talking about emptying your mind completely and just being, a zombie brain. It's actually the other kind of meditation, which is to focus your mind on something. And we'll see that more in some of the other verses as we look at them. Because here, when when Isaac is meditating, it just says he went out to meditate. It doesn't say what that even means. And this is the first reference to this concept in the Bible, and yet we're given no frame of reference for, or no definition or no explanation. He just went out and did this. And we're like, okay, what's he doing? So as we'll look a little more at some other references to try to get an idea. And one of those is Psalm 145 and verse 5.
It is.
It is.
Ooh.
And here the psalmist says, "On the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wondrous works I will meditate. I will concentrate. I will focus my thoughts. So instead of emptying your mind of all thought, the idea here is to focus your
Is to
mind and your
only
thoughts.
have one thoughts.
Well, or one singular subject,
Yes.
topic, one group of thoughts.
Yes.
Here, he's talking about the wondrous works that God has done. And so you could just meditate on, think about, focus your thoughts, concentrate on just considering, listing, imagining, picturing in your mind all of the wonderful things God has done. And you could do that chronologically. You could just start at the beginning, start thinking about creation and all the marvelous things involved with creation, and then you could look at consider the flood and the marvelous things God did with flooding the earth, and you could think about what he did with Abraham and what he did with Isaac and what he did with Jacob and what he did with the children of Israel, leading them out of Egypt with all the plagues. And then you could go through all the miraculous things that he has done, and you just go through and it would take a long while to really think about all of the things that he has done. But that's kind of an idea. Now, we don't know that this is what Isaac was doing. We don't know exactly what Isaac was doing when he went out and meditated in the evening. But obviously it was some sort of a spiritual activity, to keep his mind attuned to spiritual things, to what God wanted him to be doing and thinking and feeling.
I would actually,
confused.
I would put a different spin on Psalm 145 verse 5. You're talking about like all the miracles and such that God has done.
Well, that's one marvelous works, wonderful works.
Something about the way that this is written makes me think, on the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wondrous works.
It's like two different things almost.
Yes. Well, no, it's the same thing.
Is it?
Yes. The glorious splendor of your majesty. I want you to think about like an art gallery. You're walking around an art gallery and you see this beautiful painting on the wall. It is a wondrous work.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if the artist was there and you were able to talk to him, he may actually consider that to be his glorious splendor. It is something that he made. It is his work, and it is connected to him. It is his splendor. It points back to him in a way. And so from that, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, yes, it's good to, you can see that in the context of his miracles and the wonderful things he has done, but I see this in the context of the wonderful things that he has made, in that he is an artist and his, how does it say it, the glorious splendor of his majesty is this beautiful world around us, in part at least. Of course, God's majesty can't compare with the world that we live in, no matter how beautiful of an area you live in, but that is a part of it. In that his wondrous works,
well, that's part of his creation.
Splendor, are the things that are around us.
Well, in the actual context of the psalm, he's talking about people will talk about the fame of God's great kindness and sing about his justice, and he said, I'm going to proclaim, they will proclaim the power of your awesome acts, and I will declare your great deeds. So, I mean, I think all of that's connected. Obviously, creation is one of his great deeds, one of his great actions. But I think all of that is connected. We're just trying to meditate on, focus on God's greatness and what he has accomplished because he is so great. And that's kind of the idea there as well. Another one from Psalm 119 and verse 48.
The other one wasn't from Psalm 119.
From Psalm,
yes.
This time 119
and
verse 48. I will lift up my hands toward your commandments, which I love, and I will meditate on your statutes.
Ah, gotta love statues.
No,
But in all honesty, though, went to
Wait,
an art museum. Man, there was a statue there. It was we were talking about Rebecca, Isaac's wife.
Not statues.
They had a statue of her with like the veil on her face. I don't know how they did that veil. It was amazing.
Not statues. Statutes. That's like laws, commands. Yeah.
I can't hear a difference there. No. So continuing my conversation about statues.
Let's not. Like a statue? Like he was a small statue?
I can play that game all day, Mr. Scott.
I'm not even moving my lips. Yeah, okay.
You lose.
All right. If you've got kids, you need to find Night Night with Frankie and share those Bible stories with that.
Yes.
Mr. Scott and Frankie. And anyway, but no, not a small statue. His statutes, which are his laws, which are his commands, which is the Bible in essence.
And so this verse is simply talking about meditating, focusing on God's commandments, what they mean, how to put them into action in your life, and specifically like those 3 words there, which I love. And so this isn't just a focus your mind on these commandments, figure out how to put them into action in your life. It's also put your heart into that. Yeah. Don't just, oh, I've got to do this commandment. Oh, I've got to focus on this. I have to do this. I have to. No, enjoy it. Love it. Because that is the whole point of this. If you're just going through the motions, if you're just doing it just because God says to do it, then you kind of lost the purpose of faith, of Christianity, of
following God.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a very interesting phrase, which I love, because there are an awful lot of people who, anytime you talk about the Bible or God's commandments, you got 2 groups. One that goes, "Whoa, there's no commandments. Oh, grace and faith, and we don't need to obey anything. You can't save yourself with these works." And then there's the other group that's like, "Oh, there's just so many commands. I've got to do so many things, and it makes my life miserable."
Perfect.
And
if I mess up once, then I'm immediately doomed to hell, and I got to repent 12 million times for one sin that I committed last Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow, really last?
Yeah.
That's very specific.
Well, you've got to keep track of all of them, because if you miss one and then you don't repent for it 8 million times, then you're going to hell and you're doomed for all eternity.
Yeah. So there's some people that just want to throw all the commandments out and ignore them entirely, and some people that are focused on them in a negative way.
Yep.
But the psalmist here, and all of Psalm 119.
Middle of the road, people.
All of Psalm 119. Well, actually, just a completely different road than either of those.
You took a wrong turn at Albuquerque.
God's commandments.
Mm-hmm.
Love His law. His law is there for your good. It's like with a loving parent with children, telling them, "Hey, don't stick your hand on the stove top, or don't run out in the road in front of cars, or don't jump off the top of the roof." All these. It's like, well, you just hate me. You're making all these rules I gotta abide by. No, I love you and I don't want you to die. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you hurting yourself. And God's law is the same way. He loves us and He gave us the instructions for life so that we could live life to the fullest and get the most out of it and not have to die and not suffer pain constantly. And so it needs to be the change of our attitude. And the psalmist in Psalm 119 paints that picture in what is the longest single section in the Bible, the longest of the Psalms, and the longest single chapter as the chapters are broken up. But just constantly go, and that's all his focus in that psalm is the law of God, the commands of God, the words of God, the teachings of God. And I don't know how many he says it 100 different ways. in 176 verses or some. I think that's right, 176. I didn't look at it, but I think that if I remember, if my mind's working today,
Something like that.
but a lot of verses, and just over and over again, how great God's law is, how great His commands are, how wonderful they are, how much He loves them, and how perfect they are. And if you want to focus on God's, start there. That psalm is a beautiful picture of that focus.
So, slightly curious here. We've got 4 verses on basically this topic.
3, 4. We do.
3 of them have a very noticeable common thread because they all actually have the word meditation in them. But then the 4th one, which I'm about to read to you, does not. So I'm curious.
Let's see the connection.
Yeah. Got to figure out why this one's in here.
One of these is not like the others, and yet it is.
You got 3 giraffes and a telephone pole.
No, you have a tree, and you have branches and leaves and a trunk. They're connected, but they're not. Anyway, go ahead. All right.
I thought you said we were doing which one of these is not like the others.
It's not. It's not like the others.
Okay.
The tree
Yeah.
is not like the others, and yet it contains the others. Anyway. You gonna read it or not?
1 Chronicles chapter 22, verse 12. Only may the Lord grant you discretion and understanding, that when He gives you charge over Israel, you may keep the law of the Lord your God.
Yeah. This is actually a prayer from one to another, from one person to another person, for God to give that person discretion and understanding. Now, how are they going to get that?
Magic.
Probably not. Meditation.
Hmm.
By meditating on God's
Study.
law. By studying God's law. By meditating on the wondrous works of God and on His majesty, on His greatness. And He wants him, this is the person who's going to be king, obviously, considering the context here. He's going to be king. And so he wants the Lord to give this person this discretion, this understanding, so that when he has charge over Israel, he will keep the law of the Lord. To keep it, to obey it. To understand it and obey it. And that's the purpose, that's the goal of our meditation when it comes to the study side of things, or even when it comes to meditating on God. What good does it do to meditate on God if it doesn't affect the way we think, speak, and act toward God? I mean, if
Or
we just
towards others.
or toward His law, toward keeping His law. I mean, what's the point? We've got to think and speak and act appropriately in order for it to have any impact on us, in order for it to have done any good.
Yep.
If we're just, and that's again why we're not talking about the kind of meditation that just says, just empty your mind and breathe. And no, I mean, you know what? I don't have to meditate to breathe. My body does that by itself. I mean, you don't just forget to do that. I mean, you just don't even have to think about it. That just happens.
I've had times where I forgot to breathe.
You forgot to breathe?
Yeah.
I usually have to
Generally
remind myself not to breathe when my face is underwater.
Generally on roller coasters and stuff, where it's like
Well,
you go over that first hill, I'm just like.
That's a temporary thing. That's what you get for getting on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Don't get on roller coasters. And anyway,
Lessons learned. So wonderful.
So I hope you understand the difference in the two kinds of meditation,
Yes.
and what biblical meditation is.
Yes.
Because I know a lot, our Eastern friends, and I don't mean Eastern United States, those of an Eastern culture, the Asian cultures in the Far East, have pushed, like with yoga and other things, this idea of this meditation where it's just total relaxation, empty your mind, don't think about anything. And that's not what the Bible's teaching us when it talks about meditation.
Do
It's
some
a
people
different-
need that?
Maybe you need to relax your mind and stop. Maybe some people's minds are just running
I know some
too
people
fast
that
and
just
you got too many thoughts in your mind. You get them.
they need to chill.
There is a place for relaxation. There is, but there is also in our spiritual lives a much more important place for focus upon God, His Word, His mighty deeds, His character, and of course then how that plays out in our lives. We need to be visualizing how does the teaching of the Scripture affect me? How does that play a role in my life? How does that change the way that I behave? And that's an important part.
So we will be back tomorrow with
Or another day.
sometime, some way,
Somehow.
words. We'll be back with another prayer, and we've still got a few more topics left, so
Yeah.
we'll keep
still
that
have
going
them.
for a while. But if you have any suggestions, something we haven't covered yet, feel free to let us know, because
Yeah.
I am sure that there are several good
I'm
topics
sure there are things that
we
we
have missed.
We haven't thought of. I mean, we can't think of everything.
Yep.
What do you think you're here for? Think of something already.
And these past few have gone on a bit long.
A bit
we need
long?
to work on getting them shorter again.
Good luck with that.
They've been clearing 20 easy.
Yeah.
So
Somebody's gotten talkative.
I'm sitting over here literally doing nothing half of these videos to try and cut the time down. Should I talk more, sir? Okay. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you enjoy these. Hope they help you.
And don't forget to check out our videos on apologetics and world religions.
Yes.
We post those every Sunday.
Yes.
We've got 2 up so far, and we'll have more coming. Another one this Sunday.
Yes.
This Sunday we're actually going to be talking about Christianity. So
Maybe once
is
we run out of
a pretty-
topics, we'll just fill in with those.
we could maybe. I don't know. Those aren't going to last nearly as long as these prayers, though. I don't know. We might could get a few. But we're not gonna.
I mean, if you went in depth with
Well,
them,
if
they
we
could
get-
last a while.
We're not going to go in depth that much. Anyway,
Anyway,
I mean, we covered all of the philosophies of the arguments for God in 2. So, bye.
we scratched the
You
surface.
have to
with
touch
those.
the button.
I know.
You can wave all day.
Bye.
You have to. Yeah.